92% of Polymarket traders lose money, and the top 0.1% extracted $3.7 billion in the month of March. So I reverse engineered their playbook using Claude code, on-chain data, and 3 open source tools. The dashboard that you can see in front of you has every formula, every tool, and every pattern they don't want you to see. And the whales who extracted $3.7 billion last month, they aren't guessing, they aren't betting, because what they don't want you to know is that they are running a math exam. And if you're still trading the news, you've already lost. Welcome to the Apex Predator engine, and this is an autonomous quant engine that I've vibe coded inside of Claude Code. Let me show you exactly how it works. Now, all the data that you see inside of this dashboard, this is live data. I'm pulling this in using Polymarket's Gamma API. And for this example, I'm going to use this event, which is, will Rockstar release Grand Theft Auto 6 before June 2026? And if you're new to Polymarket, you basically trade on events. And it's basically a binary trade. Is something going to happen, yes or no? So you can see it's all live synced. And for this dashboard to work, you just need the event slug. So when you go over to Polymarket, you just see the last bit of the URL for that particular event. Once the data is ingested into the dashboard, everything is synced up. This quant will then jump into action. Now you can see the live price here, which is $0.0115. And what that means is that the market is currently pricing this yes event at a 1.15% probability. So very low percentage, right? On the other side, a live price for no is at $0.9885, which means that the market seems to think that there is a 98.85% probability that Rockstar will not release a GTA 6 before June 2026. So most of Polymarket and their traders are betting on the no side of the trade. And this is significant because if you look at the live volume, this is a highly liquid trade. There's currently, at this moment in time, whilst I'm recording this video, $13.8 million traded on this particular event, which tells you that it's highly liquid and a significant market event for this engine to monitor. Now let me show you the quant brain in action. And you can see that where it says estimated P_true for yes and no. And I'll explain exactly how I got to this formula. So stick with me and this will make more sense. And so my quant brain believes that the actual probability of this event based on internal evaluations, and that's based on formula, that's based on looking at whale wallets and looking at market sentiment inside of Polymarket, that this Apex Predator engine has a 1% probability that it's going to be a yes, compared to what we're seeing the market price it at, which is 1.15%. And for the no side is going to be a 99% probability based on the quant's brain. So more or less quite similar to the market sentiment. And this is the most important part of this entire dashboard, which is the edge or the expected value. And so this dashboard has calculated that the market is currently overestimating the likelihood of a yes outcome. And the yes position edge is at minus 0.0015. And this is because the market price is higher than the engine's true estimate. So what this means for you is that betting yes yields a negative expected value. Basically, in layman's terms, it's an overpriced bet. If you look at the no position edge, this is currently priced at plus 0.0015. What this means is that since the market is slightly too bullish on a release before June 2026, the no shares are technically undervalued at $0.9885 because the engine thinks they should be 0.99. And so you're probably wondering, why are both trades rejected by this quant dashboard? Because that's what you see here. In this situation, based on market sentiment, based on everything that the quant has crunched, using internal logic, using whale wallets that I can see, and using formula, that's basically mathematics, it's still rejecting both trades. Because if I was new to Polymarket, I would place a trade on the no event happening. And that is because the positive EV, which is this value here, 0.0015, is still below the hard guardrail of 0.05. That's something that I've built into this quant agent. And what that means is that the quant is telling me that I should currently hold or even reject rather than executing this trade. Now, it hasn't outright rejected it completely because the market could change, right? The edge could change. So effectively what it's doing is it's waiting for a better edge before committing any of my total allocated capital, which in this example is $8,000. And you can see that here on the right-hand side. So you're probably wondering, what does a quarter Kelly size mean? And basically, this is your optimal position sizing. And so this engine uses a fractional Kelly or a quarter Kelly formula to basically determine how much of your $1,000 that you can see here in the allocated capital or your bankroll to risk. But why did it come to $32.16? Well, basically, the Kelly criterion calculates the bet size that maximizes your logarithmic growth of your capital here, but also it minimizes the chances of ruin, right? So it doesn't want to blow your wallet up. And I'm specifically using quarter Kelly just to be conservative because it reduces your portfolio volatility by 75% compared to a full Kelly trade. Now, even though the no has an edge because it's still a positive expected value, it only suggests a $32.61 bet because the edge is so narrow. And once again, both trades were rejected. But let me show you the technical reason why. Because this engine has a built-in institutional guardrail, and that guardrail is that the minimum expected value should be 0.05 or 5% to trigger an execution. Now, I built this just to basically protect the size of the bankroll and to make sure that I have the maximum probability of winning the trade. And since the current edge is at 0.0015 or 0.15%, it's below the 5% threshold. And the engine is programmed to block the trade. This is a hard-coded discipline that prevents the system from picking up pennies in front of a steamroller. It waits for high conviction and high margin opportunities. And it does this before putting your capital at risk. So you're probably wondering, how did I come up with this strategy? Well, in truth, I really didn't. I actually found this article on x.com by a guy called Lunar Researcher. And what he did was he analyzed 14,000 Polymarket wallets using the Claude API. Now, this would have taken a substantial amount of time and a substantial amount of resources because to do something like 14,000 wallets is going to require thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in Claude API credits. So big shout out to Luna for doing all the hard work. Now, basically, he gave me the idea to turn this into a Claude Code dashboard. And there's some really incredible information inside of this article because Polymarket hit 7,000, or should I say almost $8 billion in volume in February 2026 alone. And the weekly volume in March broke their platform's record because it hit 2.1 billion, which is a new all-time high. Now that's incredible, but only if you're a whale because 87% of all wallets are in the red. And that's just of 14,000 wallets that he checked. But what's really incredible is that the top 20 wallets captured more profit than the bottom 13,000 wallets combined. That's really incredible. So this isn't even a casino. This is a maths exam, right? Because most of the people that traded on Polymarket, they basically showed up without a calculator. Now, what's Luna done here is before he's built a formula, before he's looked at real wallets, real numbers, and verified on-chain because Polymarket uses the Polygon chain to basically track every single trade, he found some whales. And these are the whales that he found. And he's actually included their wallets as well. And look at the volume these guys have traded. This guy has 4 million in total P&L. This guy traded $6 million in a single day. This guy traded $2 million in March of 2026. And this guy here, Cemetery Sun, he's traded almost $37 million on Polymarket. This is insane. Insane numbers. Now, what piqued my interest about this article was the specific formulas he used because I'm not a mathematician. I don't have a galaxy brain, but what I can use is AI. So I plugged all of this into Claude Code to basically do it for me. So the first formula, like I showed you on the dashboard, was expected value, right? The only filter that matters. And this is the mathematical formula. Now, we don't even need to know this because AI knows what this is, right? AI is the brain that we're going to use for this quant. That's going to be powering the dashboard. So fundamentally, what that means is that if the market says 40%, you believe 60%, your edge per dollar is this value here. So he's just basically plugged in this formula with real numbers. So you're basically going to make 20 cents on every dollar traded, which is what he's telling you here. So in traditional finance, what this means is that you have a 2% edge. But on Polymarket, 20% edges exist if you know how to find them. And so he's put a rule in here, which is the 5% threshold that I mentioned, which is why the GTA 6 launch was rejected on both the yes and no trades. Skip it, no exceptions. This is hard-coded into my dashboard. And so this single filter, like Luna says, will eliminate 90% of all losing trades. Now, this is very significant because most amateurs would take that trade, right? If it's a binary decision, if it's yes or no, 50-50 based on market sentiment, why would you not take the no trade? When the market believes that 98% probability or 98% believe that Rockstar isn't going to launch it before June. The second formula is the Kelly criterion. And this is basically risk management. This is how much of your pot, your bankroll, the $1,000 that you saw inside of my dashboard, do I risk on every trade without it blowing up? And he's given a mathematical formula for this as well. And here it is where he explains it in more detail. Now, this guy is obviously Einstein. He's obviously a galaxy brain. He knows more about this than I do, but I'm the automation king. I probably know more AI than he does. So I plugged it into Claude Code to do it all for me. And so the full Kelly says that a bet of 33% of your bankroll, you never do this because that's what full Kelly says, right? But in my example, I'm using the quarter Kelly. So 50 years of real trading proves full Kelly destroys you emotionally before the math pays off. This guy's actually done his homework. He's looked at 50 years of data using the full Kelly formula, the full Kelly criterion of how to manage your wallet. And that's why he says use the quarter Kelly, which is exactly what I built into this dashboard. And it's hard-coded, it's hardwired. This isn't up for debate. So on a $1,000 bankroll, you only bet $83. It's not exciting, it's not sexy, it's not gonna make you rich tomorrow, but it's not gonna blow up your account, it's not gonna make you lose your house, your home, you're not gonna be destitute. And the last formula, Formula 3, is the Bayesian updating. Now, I have no idea what this means, but I plugged it into Claude Code, which absolutely knows what it's talking about. And this is the mathematical formula here. And this is more about the wider economic landscape, right? Like, can outside market conditions, real life conditions affect the yes or no decision-making process? Can it affect the outcome? And you would say that in the GTA 6 example, yes, you absolutely could, right? There's outside forces, there could be supply chain issues, there could be marketing conditions, there could be logistics issues. If inflation data drops, how does that affect spending power for consumers who enjoy GTA 6, right? So he's mentioned that if inflation data drops and the Fed cuts interest rates by 55%, then, price that into the decision-making process. After the three formulas, he's actually given us a toolkit as well. So the three tools that I used that were completely open source, the first one is Prediction Market Analysis by John Becker, and that's on GitHub. So what this does is this collects and analyzes Polymarket and Cauchy data into usable research outputs. The second tool I used was Polyterm, and this is a whale tracker, right? It uses insider detection protocols. Also detects, wash trades, and it never touches your private keys. And the last tool I used was the Inside Tracker. This is basically monitoring fresh wallets, and it looks for unusual position sizes. Now, this could be based on a lot of information. It could be based on whale wallets. It could be based on, trading patterns that don't really fit the market sentiment, or it could be looking at insider information. Who knows? The point is you have that data. And so what's interesting here is that in January 2026, it flagged 5 alerts on a wallet that turned $35,000 into $442,000 even before the event went live. And before I show you how you can build this inside of Claude Code for yourself, let me show you the master prompt that I use for the Apex Predator engine. So if you know me well, you know that if you put garbage into the prompts, you're going to get garbage out. I do not recommend that you do that if you're going to use a quant system like this. So take some time at this process. I know people find prompting tedious, it's laborious. You have to kind of put it into a systematic process. Even though it's in the English language for most of us, it's still quite a boring process, right? But trust me, when you get prompting right, when you become a master at prompting, your life is going to be a lot easier. So all I've asked it to do is you're an expert quant infrastructure developer and a front-end engineer, specializing in high-fidelity, institutional-grade financial dashboards. Big words to basically say, I'm turning you into a mega brain, galaxy brain quant trader. Now, I want you to build the Apex Predator engine, which is an autonomous quantitative trading terminal. And it's only got 2 mandates, right? The first is to identify market discrepancies. The second is to calculate optimal position sizing. Then I've given it design specifications. This is just for the layout, what the screen looks like, right? This is not really that a big a deal. You can have it looking basic as fuck. It doesn't really matter, right? Like it doesn't need to look shiny. It doesn't look glossy. This is for you to help you make trading decisions. But I'll put it in there. I've also included key UI components. But let me skip all that. This is the front-end logic as well. I want to skip all that. The most important part of this is going to be the core calculations, right? So the expected value, the quarter Kelly position size. So we're not using full Kelly, we're using quarter Kelly, which is 25% of your bankroll. And this is all the backend reasoning, right? So this is built on Flask, which is a server, and Python, which is just a programming language. This is for all the data pipelining, all the ingesting. And you can see that I'm using the Gamma API from Polymarket. This is completely free, guys. We're getting their data sources directly from Polymarket themselves. None of this is guesswork. It's not backtesting. This is real live data, which is what this dashboard will ingest. And the purpose of this is to fetch real-time pricing and event data. This is the most important part of this entire prompt. Then I'm basically building the heuristic brain, which is inside of the AI. Now, I've used Claude Code for this. You can use any programming or AI language that you want. In my opinion, Claude Code is the best programming platform in the world. Nothing comes close to Opus, right? So we're going to use an estimate P_true, which is the whale buying pressure and the market trajectory. We're going to maintain a native quantitative brain, and we're going to switch to Claude 3 for analysis, right? And then here you just put in your Anthropic API key. So you should have a subscription with Claude Code. Server, obviously we're going to use Flask. We're going to use port 50 or port 5000, should I even say. And then we're going to use the REST API endpoints that Polymarket Gamma provides completely for free. And then this is building out the rest of it. The risk engine is going to be EV less than 0.05. And so that means we've got a 5% threshold. If it doesn't meet that, it will reject all trades. Doesn't matter what the market sentiment is. Now, this is quite a complex prompt. And if you want access to this, just leave me a comment below that says the word Quant, and I'll send it to you. So you can see I'm inside of Google's anti-gravity. You can use any IDE that you want. This is where I'm running Claude Code. And basically all I've done is I've just pasted the prompt, the master prompt from the Google Docs. And it's thinking about it. It's running bash commands. It's going to create the project root and subdirectories. You can ignore this unsupported content type. Sometimes I see that, but I really ignore it. You can see that's building it all. It's now creating Vite and React for the dashboard that you're going to see. And it's building out all the front-end dependencies. It's going to build the logic. It's going to build the formulas, everything that I discussed and everything that Luna talks about in the article. Now, this took me about a couple hours, not because I had to sit here and code this myself, but because this is actually a 300 meg folder. So there's a lot of Python scripts in there. There's a lot of code. There's a lot of crunching that's going on in the background. I didn't have to do any of this. I literally sat here. I was doom scrolling and I just let Claude Code do it for me. And that's really all there is to it. So there you have it. This is how you build an Apex Predator quant analysis dashboard using nothing but Claude Code. If you want access to the master prompt, just type in Quant in the comments below. If you want to skip the entire step and you'll download the agent, it's a 300 meg file. I've included it in my private community. The link is in the description. Just click on that, follow the on-screen instructions, and I'll see you on the other side. If you got value from this video, massage the like button, show the algorithm some love, because I'm somebody that drops AI bombs when it comes to using the latest, greatest AI tools. These are tools that I use myself. These are tools that I've signed up to, that I pay a subscription for, and tools I recommend to my community as well. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on so you know when the next video drops. I usually drop 3 videos a week. And if you enjoyed this video, just watch the next video on screen. This is a juicy video that will show you how you can use Claude Code for free. So you can build this entire dashboard for $0. It's really quite incredible. Thank you so much if you made it this far. I'll see you when the next video drops. But before you go, say it with me, something magical is going to happen today, because it absolutely will. Claude Code is magical. Quantitative trading is magical. There's a ton of opportunities right now on Polymarket and a ton of money to be made. So if you're sitting on the sidelines, get Claude Code installed, build this dashboard, have some fun with it, and I'll see you next time.